The moment they chose to sacrifice your reputation for a fleeting moment of approval, they never imagined how deeply your absence would echo. You are unforgettable. This truth reverberates through their life now, a constant reminder of their miscalculation. They stand alone in the aftermath of their betrayal, the false validation they sought having crumbled like sand between their fingers. Meanwhile, you've risen beyond the shadow of their deception, your light undiminished by their attempts to extinguish it. Their regret comes in waves, sometimes in the quiet moments when memories surface, sometimes in the stark realization that the approval they traded you for was worthless. Your name catches in their throat when conversation turns to loyalty. Your resilience haunts them. The bus they threw you under has long since departed, leaving them stranded with nothing but the knowledge that in trying to diminish you, they only revealed their own weakness. You remain etched in their mind, not as a victim, but as the unforgettable, force they foolishly discarded for something that never truly mattered. Betrayal is never an accident. It is a decision, a deliberate choice made in a moment that changes everything. And in that moment, they had a choice: to stand by your side or to sacrifice your name for clout. They chose betrayal, and now they live with the consequences. They thought it was an easy decision, one that would bring them closer to the approval they desperately craved. The validation of others was worth more to them than your trust, your loyalty, your years of unwavering support. You, who had been there for them in their darkest moments, who had stood by them when others turned away, you were reduced to a pawn in their pursuit of temporary acceptance. They never stopped to think about what they were truly giving up. At the time, they convinced themselves it didn't matter. Maybe they thought you wouldn't notice, or that you would be too forgiving, too understanding to walk away. Maybe they assumed they could do damage control later, patch things up when it was convenient. But betrayal is not something that can be undone. Once that line is crossed, there is no going back. And so, they went through with it. They threw your name into conversations where it didn't belong, twisted narratives to fit their agenda, sacrificed your reputation to gain favor in a crowd that didn't even care about them. Maybe it was subtle, a snide remark, a laugh at your expense, silent complicity when others spoke against you. Or maybe it was blatant, a direct attack, a deliberate smear, a choice to side with those who sought to bring you down. No matter the form it took, the result was the same. They underestimated you. They saw you as disposable, replaceable. They assumed that losing you would be a small price to pay for the approval of the people they so desperately wanted to impress. They thought they could rewrite the narrative, that your presence in their life was something they could erase without consequence. But what they failed to realize is that you are not just anyone. You are the kind of person whose absence is felt. Your energy, your loyalty, your presence, these are things that leave a mark. When you walk away, the void you leave behind is undeniable. And now, they feel it. They thought they could replace you, but now they are beginning to understand. Some people cannot be replaced. Their choice seemed easy at the time. But now, with every passing day, regret seeps in. The approval they sought feels hollow. The people they tried to impress have moved on, offering nothing in return for the sacrifice they made. And you are no longer there to pick up the pieces. They traded something real for something meaningless. They gambled with your loyalty and lost. And now, as they sit with the weight of their own decisions, they realize the truth they were. Too blind to see before. They didn't betray just anyone, they betrayed you. And that is a mistake they will have to live with for the rest of their lives. Loyalty is not something everyone understands. Some people are so consumed by their desire to belong that they will betray even the ones who stood by them the most. This is the root of their betrayal. Not hatred, not malice, but weakness. A desperate, pathetic need to be accepted by people who don't even care about them. This person was never strong enough to stand on their own. They shapeshift depending on who they're around, becoming whoever they think will be most accepted in the moment. Around you, they acted like a friend. They laughed with you, confided in you, and swore their loyalty. But around others, especially those they sought approval from, they became someone else entirely. Suddenly, their allegiance wavered. Suddenly, your name became something they could toss around for cheap laughs or easy social currency. They didn't betray you because they hated you. They betrayed you because they feared being left out. Their loyalty to you was never stronger than their need to fit in. They wanted to be accepted by people who don't even think about them now. They thought sacrificing you would earn them a place in that circle, that blending in would protect them from ever feeling alone. But in trying so hard to belong, they lost the one person who genuinely cared about them. Weak people like them will always be slaves to the opinions of others. Their sense of self is so fragile that they will do anything to avoid standing out, even if it means turning against someone who only ever had their back. They believed that by betraying you, they would be seen as one of them. They thought it would make them more likable, more accepted. But the painful truth is, the people they tried to impress never actually respected them. You knew them better than anyone, and that's why this betrayal cut so deep. You saw the real them, the version they tried to hide from the world. You saw their fears, their insecurities, their struggles. You offered them loyalty without conditions. And yet, when it came time to choose, they turned their back on you for people who wouldn't even notice if they disappeared tomorrow. And now they feel the weight of that choice. The validation they chased feels empty. The people they sought approval from have already moved on. And the person who truly saw them, the one who stood by them when no one else did, is gone. They sit with that realization now, replaying the moments in their mind, wondering if it was worth it. Was the approval they gained in that moment enough to replace what they lost? They know the answer, and it eats away at them every single day. They threw away something real for something temporary. And now, as they try to blend into yet another crowd, they carry the burden of their own choices. Because no matter where they go or who they try to impress next, one truth remains. They betrayed the wrong person. Betrayal never stays hidden forever. The truth has a way of rising to the surface, no matter how carefully they try to bury it. Maybe you confronted them directly, forcing them to look you in the eyes and acknowledge what they did. Or maybe someone else exposed them, unraveling their lies and making them face the reality of their actions. Either way, they can no longer escape the truth. They were caught, and now their guilt is showing. At first, they tried to deny it. They twisted the narrative, played the victim, and acted like you were overreacting. They made excuses, claimed it was a misunderstanding, or pretended that they never meant to hurt you. But deep down, they knew exactly what they were doing when they threw you under the bus. They knew they were betraying someone who had only ever been loyal to them. When denial no longer worked, they tried to deflect. Suddenly, they acted distant. The person who once confided in you, laughed with you, and leaned on you for support was now avoiding your presence like a guilty child. They stopped answering your calls. Their replies became vague and cold. They were too busy to talk, too overwhelmed to address the situation. But you knew the truth. They weren't busy. They were ashamed. And if they weren't avoiding you, they were overcompensating. They suddenly became too nice, too eager to prove that nothing had changed. Compliments that once felt genuine now reeked of desperation. They laughed too hard at jokes, forced conversations that once flowed naturally, and tried to act as if nothing had happened. But you saw through it. Their guilt was evident in every awkward pause, every nervous glance, every forced attempt to repair what they had shattered. The weight of their betrayal hangs over them like a storm cloud, dark and inescapable. They hear your name in passing and feel their stomach drop. They see a post, a memory, a reminder of the person they discarded, and the regret hits them like a punch to the gut. They realize now that betraying you was never just a moment, it was a permanent stain on their conscience. And yet, their pride won't let them apologize. They tell themselves it's too late, that you wouldn't forgive them even if they did reach out. They convince themselves that ignoring it is easier than facing you, easier than admitting that they lost something they can never get back. So they carry their guilt in silence. They avoid certain places, certain people, certain conversations that might remind them of what they did. They pretend they don't care, but their actions betray them. Every unanswered message, every awkward encounter, every moment of hesitation, it all points to the same truth. They know they were wrong. But here's the difference between you and them. You don't need their apology to move on. You already see them for what they are. You recognize that their avoidance, their silence, their guilt, it's not your burden to carry. They are the ones haunted by their choices. They are the ones who must live with the weight of their own betrayal. And you've already freed yourself from it. Look, the system's been rigged from day one, and if you've got your eyes open, you can feel it. The walls are closing in. So let's get real about what we're doing. Living paycheck to paycheck, at the mercy of the market, that's a game built for you to lose. They own the land, the profits, the rules, and they keep you distracted while they stack the deck. But we don't beg the house for scraps. We build our own table. Yes, the Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, because it takes real fuel to wage war against the machine. Those who stand with us, who keep this mission alive, they give us the firepower to push deeper, see further, and strike where it counts. And for that, they get exclusive access, a live 1-hour weekly group tarot reading, delivering guidance, clarity, and insight straight from the universe's source code. But here's the deal. Kicking someone when they're already down, that ain't our style. Starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no strings. Just jump into the free tier of our Patreon. Link in the description. This is more than just us talking at you. This is a two-way channel. Reply to any email. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll get you an answer from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you in the fight. If you can't, take what's free and sharpen your mind. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now, let's get back to work. At first, they convinced themselves they had gained something by betraying you. Status, approval, or a temporary sense of belonging. They stood among their so-called friends, feeling powerful, feeling accepted, thinking they had won. But what they didn't realize in that moment was that every fleeting bit of validation they received came at a cost. And now, the weight of regret is crushing them. Because the people they sought to impress, they don't care. They never did. The approval they chased vanished as quickly as it came, leaving them emptier than before. They traded something rare, your loyalty, your presence, your authenticity, for something meaningless. And now, as time stretches on, they are forced to face the truth. What they lost was worth far more than what they gained. At first, they tried to ignore it. They convinced themselves that moving on would be easy, that your absence wouldn't matter. But life has a way of revealing our mistakes in the most brutal ways. They see reminders of you everywhere, in old messages, in shared memories, in the way others speak of you with respect, while their own name fades into irrelevance. They hear stories of your success, your strength, your ability to move forward without them, and it gnaws at them. Because you didn't just survive without them, you thrived. They expected you to crumble. They thought you would beg for an explanation, demand an apology, or try to win them back. Instead, you did the unthinkable. You walked away. You didn't fight for their friendship, their approval, or their validation. You didn't lower yourself to their level. You simply left them to deal with the mess they created. And that silence, it speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. Now, they are haunted by what they lost. The inside jokes that no longer hold meaning. The conversations that once flowed effortlessly but will never happen again. The sense of safety they felt around you, knowing they could be themselves without judgment. They took it all for granted, thinking it would always be there. But you were never disposable. You were never an option they could discard and retrieve at their convenience. You were irreplaceable. And now, as they sit in the wreckage of their choices, they know it. They watch from the sidelines as you continue to move forward, as others recognize your worth in ways they never did. And it burns. It burns because they know that no one will ever offer them what you did. No one will care the way you cared. No one will stand by them the way you did. They lost you, and that loss is permanent. And the worst part, they did it to themselves. They thought they could replace you. They believed that time would erase your presence, that new friendships, new relationships, or new distractions would fill the space you left behind. But now they understand the truth. You are unforgettable. It's not just about who you were to them. It's about what you brought into their life. Your energy was unmatched. You didn't just exist in their world. You elevated it. Your loyalty, your wisdom, your ability to see through people's masks and still choose to love them. That isn't something people forget. And now, as they sit with the consequences of their choices, they realize they will never meet another person like you. They see it in the people who try to take your place. No matter how hard they search, no one measures up. They may surround themselves with new faces, force new connections, and pretend they've moved on, but deep down, they feel the difference. The conversations lack depth. The laughter doesn't hit the same. The bond is weaker, artificial, a poor imitation of what they once had with you, because you didn't just offer them companionship, you offered them something real. Your presence was a force. You brought comfort, stability, and understanding. When they spoke, you actually listened. When they needed support, you were always there. You saw them for who they truly were, not just the version they presented to the world. And that is why losing you is a wound that never fully heals. Exes still think about you. Old friends feel the weight of your absence. Even family members who took you for granted find themselves regretting their choices. It's not because you hold on to them. It's because your presence is not something people get over. They feel it in the quiet moments, when nostalgia sneaks up on them and forces them to remember. They scroll through old photos, reread past conversations, and feel the sharp sting of what they lost. They hear your name in conversations and feel their stomach twist because they know you are still talked about, still respected, still admired. And they are just a faded memory in your story. They once believed they could discard you without consequence, but now they see what everyone else already knew. You are not replaceable. And that truth, it will haunt them forever. This betrayal was painful, but it was also a necessary lesson. Not everyone is built to handle your level of loyalty. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, your kindness, or your presence. And now, you understand that better than ever. The person who betrayed you thought they were making a choice that only affected you. But in reality, they exposed themselves. They showed you who they truly were. Someone who would trade something priceless for a moment of approval. And when someone shows you their true colors, believe them the first time. You used to give people the benefit of the doubt. You used to think that if you were loyal enough, kind enough, or understanding enough, people would value you the same way you valued them. But not anymore. Now, you see that loyalty is not a language everyone speaks. Some people only recognize your worth after they lose you, but that doesn't mean they deserve a second chance. You don't chase closure anymore. Their regret is proof enough. The way they avoid you, the way they hesitate when your name comes up, the way they sit with the weight of what they lost, that is your closure. You don't need an apology, and you certainly don't need validation from someone who never deserved you in the first place. This was a painful experience, but it was also a gift. It taught you discernment. It taught you to stop giving your energy to those who don't appreciate it. It taught you that not everyone who smiles in your face is a friend, and not everyone who claims to love you understands what love truly means. Now your standards are higher. Your boundaries are stronger. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've stopped trying to prove your worth to those who were blind to it in the first place, because you now realize that your energy is sacred and only a select few deserve access to it. Some people learn your value too late, and that's their loss to carry, not yours. Let their regret be their lesson, not your burden. You have already paid the price for their betrayal, already endured the pain of realizing that someone you trusted was never worthy of your loyalty. You owe them nothing, not your time, not your forgiveness, not another chance to be in your life. Because while they are stuck in the past, reliving their mistake, you are moving forward. You are stepping into a future where only real ones have access to you. People who don't make you question their loyalty. People who value your presence instead of taking it for granted. The people who truly appreciate you would never put you in a position where you have to wonder where you stand with them. They would never make you doubt their intentions, never betray you for something as shallow as approval from people who don't even matter. And now you know how to recognize those people. You know how to differentiate between those who are genuine and those who are only around for convenience. Your energy is exclusive now. Your kindness is no longer freely given to those who haven't earned it. Your time, your love, your presence, it's all reserved for those who have proven they deserve it. No more second chances for people who showed you their true colors the first time. They lost you, and that's their karma. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything, and you don't need to justify walking away. The simple fact that they are stuck in regret while you are thriving is enough. Because you are untouchable. Your growth, your success, your ability to move forward without them is what truly makes them realize their mistake. Every achievement, every moment of happiness, every step you take toward a better life without them is a reminder that they threw away something irreplaceable. And now, all they can do is watch from the sidelines as you become everything they underestimated. They thought they could break you. Instead, you became stronger. They thought they could erase you. Instead, you became unforgettable. They thought you needed them. Instead, you realized you never did. And that is the ultimate power.